Welcome back, everybody, to Bionic Uncensored. As promised, here's the continuation of API Security and ASPM Part 2. If you haven't seen Part 1, I suggest you watch that one first, because this kind of diagram, this terrible drawing that I did in front of me is going to make a lot more sense. So in Part 1, we talked about what APIs are and how they're in comparison to a truck delivering things between two factories. Applications and APIs work together to deliver functionality or data from a factory to another factory via a mechanism, and the analogy I used was a truck. The thing about application security posture management compared to API security is that API security talks about the middle, the transport layer, about picking up the data, sending it somewhere else. The problem is that it's really blind to the app itself, and this is where ASPM, or Application Security Posture Management, comes in to really provide more context about the risk, about misconfigurations, about overall security posture of the application. So the factory on the left is actually App 1. There's a lot of different things happening in this factory behind the scenes that the APIs don't see. The APIs don't see in this application. And there's connectivity, but there's also a ton of risk associated with the architecture itself. So we have a bunch of services in the application, such as, web applications associated with message brokers and other third parties. The API calls data or calls something from this, but you don't know, is that data clean? Has it been properly sanitized, or does it have a potential risk within the application architecture? So hypothetically, maybe one of these services has a critical CVE that's also accessing the data in the PII database, and then actually sending it to a third party that is then interacting to the application. APIs don't see this, so just securing the APIs is like securing that transport layer, the trucks moving the goods or the APIs moving the data. So this information is very important to understand as you're using APIs. Same thing on this side, we're either consuming or sharing data. The architecture of this application may be misconfigured. There may be architecture drift, where all of a sudden there's new things introduced in terms of application services, a new website, a new database, so on and so forth, that changes kind of what that API is consuming. So when you're thinking about not just the APIs, the transport layer or the communication between two objects or two factories via a transport mechanism, you have to think about what is that application actually doing, and just trusting the API explicitly. Application Security Posture Management does understand APIs, not to the extent of API security, but it gives you this understanding of the application and the API itself. So it's not, going into the level that an API security product is, but it's giving you enough context to make sure what you're sending via the APIs you release is going to be secure and configured correctly, the right amount of data, the appropriate authorization and authentication at the app level through the API level. So API and ASPM work well together. They're basically providing you the most holistic and contextual security for your application and their associated APIs. I'm Matt Rose, this is Bionic Uncensored. Stay cheeky, application security world.